fellow countrymen and women, especially the Bazukuru, as we work towards realizing Uganda's Vision 2040, it is important that we plan based on accurate information about our people and our resources. I therefore would like to announce the 6th National Population and Housing Census that will start on the 10th of May 2024. The information from the National Population and Housing Census will support government, the private sector, cultural and religious institutions, civil society, and development partners in service delivery. It will also provide the basis for planning the provision of social services such as education, health, and transport, among many others, at the national and local levels. When data collectors or enumerators come to your home during the census, please avail yourselves and provide them with honest answers to their questions. This is in order to enable them to process the most accurate information about you, your household, institutions, and community. I therefore call upon all political, cultural, and religious leaders, private sector players, civil society, the media, and the institutions of the government to support this key national program. The successful execution of this census will influence the well-being of all Ugandans and progress the country towards the desired socio-economic transformation. I wish you all a successful census for God and my country.
Well, a very good afternoon, and thank you so much for watching UCTV. My name is Nora Sende, and we are discussing the National Population and Housing Census that is ongoing, 2024. Well, the National Population and Housing Census kicked off on Friday, as in officially, that was the start of the National Population Census. The night before was for the floating population. With me in studio, we have Mr. Muwonge James from Uganda Bureau of Statistics, who is going to give us insight of how far they have gone, the progress made, what are some of the hiccups so far, and what are the projections, basically. And I'm glad to have you, Mr. Muwonge. Thank you so much for making time once again.
Thank you. Good afternoon, viewers. Nice being on this TV.
Yes, nice having you, Mr. Muwonge, surely. Let's just start off with how the process is going, really, nationwide. We have seen a little bit of hiccups that we shall not delve into right now, but overall we see that there is progress. There is progress when it comes to the National Population and Housing Census of 2024. Just give us a brief overview of how the process is going so far.
Okay, thank you. As you have summarized it, Thursday was the census night. So all the questions, the people who are referred to in a household, refer to those who spent the night of Thursday coming to Friday morning. And on Friday, the exercise started across the country, and in most parts, out of the 146 local governments, we started off well in more than 101. But we had a few challenges in about 30 or 40 local governments, which challenges probably we shall talk about later. But largely, by and large, I think this exercise started off very smoothly across the country in more than 100 local governments.
Okay. So it started smoothly across the country, generally the overview, much as a little hiccups here and there that we'll dig into later. I just want to know, when you both went into the digital census, what was the thought process behind there? Why digital census?
First of all, the digital census, or going digital, or is now has become the norm.
Right.
But in data collection, it's not the first time that we are doing it. As a Bureau of Statistics, we've been conducting household surveys, which are sample surveys. We have been using digital tools for the last 20 years. And so the application and use is not new to us as an institution. But also that said, globally, as you know, the countries the world over conduct censuses.
Yeah.
And we are part of the United Nations as a country. And there is a whole organization called the United Nations Population Fund that focuses on population. And so the recommendation was we go digital across. Now within the region, East African Community, to which Uganda is a member, all our neighboring countries have done using still digital. Kenya did in 2019, as I said, Tanzania did in 2022, and so is Rwanda. Also they conducted, of course, Southern Africa, a number of countries, and they have used the same approach. So the trend is we have to continue that way. So we also adopted that because it's a recommendation, but also within the East African community, that is the approach. And so we've been preparing quite some time to make sure that we actually do the right thing.
Talking about the digital census, what are some of the advantages? Because we see that everything nowadays is actually going digital in the world. We see so many sectors of the economy, be it education, be it health, agriculture, they are adopting to the digital lifestyle and the digital way of doing things. When it comes to enumeration and statistics, especially now that we're doing the census that's ongoing, what are some of the advantages that come with that?
There are quite a number of advantages. You see, with the digital, we try to make sure that the time lag. You know, previously, the 2014 census and previous censuses, it will take us 2 years to disseminate the results after data collection, and that's a fairly long period. And now, our plan is to actually release the final results 6 months, within 6 months. So we want to shorten that period. But also, going digital has benefit. The benefit is that the tablets that we are using now, government invested in the tablets and procured more than 120,000. Now these tablets are not only going to do census and then we pack them in the store. They are going to be used to update the election register, and the Electoral Commission is going to use them after the census. So, and so is NIRA, because there is a process of updating the national ID. Now, these tools can be used by more than one agency. And yet, if it were paper, that would be it. So you have paper, it is for counting people, full stop. Then after using them, then we keep them for some time and then shred them. But now there is multiple use to which these gadgets are going to be put. And so in a way there is a saving that government is making in terms of the investments it would have put into the 3 activities instead, and now it's part of it is in one. So there is a saving there. So even going digital has kind of, reaped, we have reaped in terms of the resources that are going towards such activities and major activities of government. And so the other bit is, we are going, that's the way, after COVID, we started the meeting using Zoom. And so technology took a center stage, and probably we may not go back. Some meetings continue to be on Zoom, much as COVID is probably now at not a level that is threatening. And so that's the way to go. Technology is here to stay, and we have to embrace it in all the activities that we do.
Surely.
And of course, last days as a bureau, we do so many surveys. And these surveys now, some of these tablets that we procured will be using the same. So the cost, instead of buying paper and printing questionnaires, we shall be using this for a number of years before they actually get out of date. So there are quite some benefits that we reap using going digital.
I see the benefits that are being reaped for the digital sensors and all this technology, but that has also come with some bit of disadvantages, hasn't it?
Yeah, yes, of course, it has its own, and that's what calls for adequate preparation. You see, tablets is one thing, but you see, when you collect information, you need to set up the infrastructure of where this data is going to be stored. But also for information to be sent, it is not enough just to buy the technology. You assume that every part of this country is connected. It has a network.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in some parts, there's no network. Okay. So, and the network is in some areas, specific areas. So that can be a challenge, and it's a challenge because you have to think of mechanism of how those working in those areas where there is limited network can actually send data. So we have to rely on the telecom companies that are providing the communication element. And so collaborating with these agencies becomes critical. And so areas where the limited network is a challenge. But of course, and also, as you know, power is not everywhere. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that as you go digital, we have to rely on other agencies that also contribute to ensuring that the digital, process or movement actually succeeds, because there is a lot of interdependency between what is generated or what is done by the different agencies.
Yes.
So some of the challenges, low connectivity or poor connectivity or networks in some parts, and of course low power or no power in others. So you have to invest in the options to make sure that you still provide.
All right.
Yes.
I see some of the challenges that you're talking about are intertwined with the challenges that are ongoing right now in regards to enumeration using the digital means and the digital processes of the National Population and Housing Census of 2024. However, there are also very good experiences. The very first night, that was the 9th of May 2024, there was enumeration for the floating population.
Yes.
And from my reports in the field, it seems like the enumeration went on very smoothly when it came to the floating population. It's on the 10th, the Friday day, that in some areas, especially in Greater Kampala, that we saw some bit of challenges.
Yeah.
Could you expand a little more on that?
Yes, with the, as you said, floating population is, the teams went, and I would like to thank the security agency because they escorted them to the bus parks, and also to thank the organizations, the bus operators, the taxi, because they work together with the team to make sure that that succeeds. Now, of course, on Friday, there were a number of areas, especially around Kampala and Wakiso, and also some parts in the Barara and some other parts in the country. A few other areas, but mainly around the Kampala, Wakiso, and Mukono, where they were saying that tablets are not working. The problem was not tablets not able to work. Actually, tablets didn't have any problem. Neither did our infrastructure have any problem. The issue was, at the time of recruitment, we set up an electronic recruitment system, which we requested the local governments and the cities to actually use for whoever was interested in applying or becoming an enumerator supervisor. Now, many people applied through the system,
Right.
but in most parts, for some reasons, around Kampala and Wakiso, they said that they didn't attract as many as were required. So they also people applied manually off the system. Now, when they applied off the system, it happened that we requested that if anyone is not on the system, then send a list of those who are not online, who didn't apply online, to the bureau so that we capture them into the system. Now, many of these local governments did not. Okay, and they started sending them on the morning of enumeration. Oh. Now, because we want to secure the system, and also to know that whoever is given a tablet should have information about him in our system. So the tablet was like that, the login, how to access, you have to put in information about you, which is corroborated with the information you provided earlier. Now, what happened was they were not sent the information, and so they couldn't log in. But also we couldn't open the system to everyone to log in, because it has a security, confidentiality of information is key, and also the security of the equipment and the servers. So that's what happened. But that has since been resolved, because we have been able to get all that information and capture them, and now they can log on and work.
Okay, so now there is actually stability when it comes to the enumeration, despite the challenges that we have seen in the first days, mad a little bit in the areas of Greater Kampala, not throughout the country. Interestingly enough, our country seemed to be going smoothly. Well, we are discussing the National Population and Housing Census of 2024. I am Nora Sende. When we come back, we shall talk about some of these experiences that are good and how are we learning from them, and what are our projections. My name is Nora Sende. Good afternoon.
Fellow countrymen and women, especially the Bazukuru, as we work towards realizing Uganda's Vision 2040, it is important that we plan based on accurate information about our people and our resources. I therefore would like to announce the 6th National Population and Housing Census that will start on the 10th of May 2024. The information from the National Population and Housing Census will support government, the private sector, cultural and religious institutions, civil society, and development partners in service delivery. It will also provide the basis for planning the provision of social services such as education, health, and transport, among many others, at the national and local levels. When data collectors or enumerators come to your home during the census, please avail yourselves and provide them with honest answers to their questions. This is in order to enable them to process the most accurate information about you, your household, institutions, and community. I therefore call upon all political, cultural, and religious leaders, private sector players, civil society, the media, and the institutions of the government to support this key national program. The successful execution of this census will influence the well-being of all Ugandans and progress the country towards the desired socio-economic transformation. I wish you all a successful census for God and my country.
Support the Uganda Catholic Television with MTN Momo. Step 1. Dial star 165*3 hash. Step 2. Enter merchant code 180572. Step 3. Enter any amount from 500 Uganda shillings. Step 4. Pay using MTN mobile money. Step 5. Enter PIN code and send. Step 6. You will receive a confirmation text for supporting the Uganda Catholic Television.
Good news for all.
Fellow countrymen and women, especially the Bazukuru, as we work towards realizing Uganda's Vision 2040, It is important that we plan based on accurate information about our people and our resources. I therefore would like to announce the 6th National Population and Housing Census that will start on the 10th of May 2024. The information from the National Population and Housing Census will support government, the private sector, cultural and religious institutions, civil society, and development partners in service delivery. It will also provide the basis for planning the provision of social services such as education, health, and transport, among many others, at the national and local levels. When data collectors or enumerators come to your home during the census, please avail yourselves and provide them with honest answers to their questions. This is in order to enable them to process the most accurate information about you, your household, institutions, and community. I therefore call upon all political, cultural, and religious leaders, private sector players, civil society, the media, and the institutions of the government to support this key national program. The successful execution of this census will influence the well-being of all Ugandans and progress the country towards the desired socio-economic transformation. I wish you all a successful census for God and my country.
Good afternoon. I am Nora Sende. You are watching UCTV and thank you so much for staying with us. We are discussing the National Population and Housing Census of 2024. It has started off a bit rocky, but it has stabilized right now. With me in studio, we have Mr. Mwonge James from UBOS, who is giving us insights and a little more detail of what's taking place. We are in day 3 of enumeration. 7 more days to go, and we urge everyone to make sure you are counted. It is important that you and I are counted. Now, before we left off before the break, we were just talking about some of the experiences of the population census in regards to the hiccups with the tablets that were given. And those are the challenges that came with it. But we can't miss to talk about some of the good things that happened during all the good things that are happening. What are some of the achievements so far, Mr. Mwonge?
I think so far we are internally increasing and getting excited. Data is coming in. Mm-hmm. We are able to see on our dashboards areas that are performing well. So as the interviews are completed, data is coming through.
If I may sneak in a question, what are some of the areas that are performing well now?
Well, most of the up-country districts, mm-hmm. They have started, I think data is coming through. And it's actually all going well. Even in Kampala and Wachiso, now the areas and Mukono, now after these issues were resolved, a lot of data is coming through. Mm-hmm. And so we every evening there is, because in some areas where the connectivity is low, we encourage them not to they can also, they are free not to send each time they complete a household. Mm-hmm. They can send at the end in the evening, because when it's slow it can delay them to start another interview. Mm-hmm. So, and we want them to cover as many interviews in a day as possible, so that in the evening they can send. So at the end of each day, we're able to see how many households have we added. And so far, I think we'll be able to give a very good picture halfway. Mm-hmm. In day 5, we'll be able to tell the country that, yes, this is how far we've gone. Because we are now monitoring mm-hmm. to see which areas need additional support. And in terms of the enumerators, because we had some, we have some reserve enumerators, but because some of them are started yesterday instead of Friday, mm-hmm. We are looking at how they are progressing. Mm-hmm. So when we get that, we'll be able to actually see day 4, day 5, day 6, where are we. So once we get there, we'll be able to come up with a strategy on making sure that the remaining households are covered mm-hmm. within the the 3-4 days that will be remaining. So far, in terms of what data streaming through from up country, I think is so far so good. Even in Kampala here, by the Kampala, the trouble areas were mainly in the areas of Kawempe and Machindi. But Rubaga was fine, Nakawa was okay, and parts of Central. So there are also isolated cases.
Yes.
So same to Wachis also, it had some areas and of Chira and Nansana. But for now, today, is almost everything is set.
Okay.
And they are working well.
With the look of things, do you think we shall beat deadline when it comes to that?
Yeah, for us we are optimistic, and we are monitoring every day. We believe most of the areas should be able to cover, and that's why even areas where have started late or today, where they have started today, and the deployment of the enumerators, they should be able to complete. Because we set 10 days, that's the maximum, but the areas there where they will be able to finish in less than 10 days. But from our pilot exercises and tests we did before the census, the 10 days was the maximum period, because it had also time for one to clean up, to go back, because as you interview, you may find that starting, for instance, tomorrow, people will go back to work. So when you are not there, you can make arrangements to go back at the time when you will be available. So those callbacks, we left some days to make sure that you call back to cover those households that may not have been covered, at the time you were in that area. Yeah, so we are still optimistic that it will be done.
And now that the process is really ongoing of enumeration and collecting all this data from the people, from the population out there, what are some of the ways you're making sure that this data that is collected is actually secure?
We have, first of all, confidentiality of information is one of the key principles in SASCO production. The information you provide to us, we treat it as very confidential, and we want to secure it because they are individual records. And that's information we don't give to anyone, not even staff within. The staff should only get this information for purposes of doing analysis and aggregation, but not for purposes of discussing it. Okay. Now, as a bureau, we have made sure that the security of the system, in terms of the security of the data, what is needed, the firewalls and everything is in place. Whatever comes through is not accessible unless there are clearances that are given right from, the CEO. So for now, data is coming through. It is not for any other person to access. It is for us to look at what is coming through, how is it coming up, is it coming in the way we want it? Because we have some initial analysis we're already doing, right, to see, okay, this is coming up, these are the how many households, in which areas. These are, so we have already started looking at it internally. So where we find some areas where we think, oh, why is this happening, we engage the teams that are in the field to tell them, look out on this, check on this, this enumerator. So confidentiality is quite key. And I want to assure our listeners, our viewers, that the information you provide is information that is not going to be shared as individual information. We only share it as aggregated information. So we'll be talking about statistics on Kampala, Machinde division, but we can't say Nora has this, Muonge has this, or lacks this. No. We shall talk about male and female. We talk about socio-economic groups. Talk about different profiles of people, the youth, the elderly, the young, but not to individual records. So security of individual records is a guarantee. Security of the data itself in aggregate form is quite secure because we have to keep this information, do the analysis, but even after the analysis, we keep it to make sure that we use it for, because it becomes the basis upon which we do the subsequent surveys. So it is very good information for us. So we want to assure listeners and viewers that security of information is dear to us, and no one is going to access individual records.
Well, that is very reassuring, surely, that the data that we're giving you boss is actually secure, and it's going to be generalized, not individualized, like you said. When it comes to security of data, you have assured us, and we have also seen collaboration when it comes to security of the enumerators with, security organizations that are helping in protection. So far, how is that going?
Well, I think there we have been fairly and largely we've been supported by security agencies, and I would like to thank them. And the LOCs, they have worked quite closely with us. I've received several calls from across the country asking about one or two things. But I also like to take this opportunity to sympathize with one of the families in Nigeria, where one of the enumerators, because now they are our staff, was hit by the goons last evening, and unfortunately he lost his life. And so I think they are trying to either grab his tablet or something, so he died in Murago, I think this morning. So we, as a bureau, we feel so saddened that we lost a young man who was actually doing a national duty. And we'll be reaching out to the family as a bureau to sympathize with them. But other than that, we've tried to also make sure and urge the people to be conscious about the security within the areas they are working in. And the LOCs, we have requested them to actually support and accompany these people during the actual data collection, during the enumeration. So there's that isolated incident, but largely I think it has been safe. But of course you can never know what happens with as you plan to go and enumerate. Also the trouble causers are also very busy planning, or maybe on how to get steal the tablet or how to reach out to these people. So what we can say is, in the areas where they feel insecure, don't go in too late in the evenings. I think better seek the advice of the LOC or the leadership in the LOC, and so that they guide you when to leave particular places. The life matters, and it is quite important. Much as also we want you to work and give us good data.
Well, that's a very unfortunate incident there that happened, and we do understand how it is very important to put life before anything else. When it comes to security, we see how it is going fairly well. The other challenge is accessing people in hard-to-reach areas. I'm talking about places like in the mountainous areas where there has been landslide, and places where now that it has been raining, there's some areas that the floods are. How is UPOS going about that?
For the hard-to-reach areas, we have been working with the local governments, the leadership in those areas. Fortunately, there are some of these areas, the people who are recruited from those areas, so they know the terrain, and they are able to actually be able to navigate. But where they need our support, we have been able to provide as much support as we can within the resources that are available. I know there are islands areas, there are island districts, which have unique challenges. The highland areas you have talked about, they are also unique. The areas of Karamoja are also unique. They have their own challenges. So we've been trying to address them and refer to them as special areas.
Yes.
They are special not because they have to be treated just separately, uniquely because of the nature of what they, but you know, doing work or conducting enumeration in those areas, you have to give them special considerations because it's not business as usual, you know, if I may say. So we have tried to have engagements with them, and they have provided for, you know, special treatment to some extent. Yes.
It so happens that we can't do this enumeration alone as Yubos, as the population. We also need the input of different stakeholders. We're talking about local leaders. How can they be impactful in this case?
Local leaders have been quite instrumental, and they are continuing to play a key part. The leadership at different levels, not only local governments, but the mobilization of the masses of the population to participate in enumeration is something that is very important. And the leaders have followers. So any information that they pass on to their followers is actually believed and sometimes enforced. So we continue to urge the leaders at the different levels, right from LC1 up to LC5, the LC3 and LC4, and also the members of parliament in those areas, to make sure that they continue with the mobilization effort, because this is day 3. This is not the end of the enumeration exercise. And also to emphasize what you said initially, that a number of people still think that, you know, because Friday they were not counted, that is gone. So enumeration was not for one day. It just started on Friday. But the enumerator will continue to cover those areas that have not been covered.
Right.
So I'm requesting them to be patient. And this is the message I also request the LOC, the leadership in the local government, to actually pass on, that enumeration is continuing for the next 7 days. So whoever has not been enumerated, please let them. If they are going to work and there are people at home, they can leave information or means of how it can be reached. We are not going to enumerate them from their places of work in offices. We would like to find you at your home. So if you are not there, and then you can also make arrangements with the people who are enumerating and advise them on when to come, the time you'll be at home,
Right.
so that they find you, because there are some questions that you would like to ask when you are in your home environment. Yeah, so it's mobilization to really support and to continue sensitizing people about why we need to be counted.
Right.
Okay.
Now, before we close off this, we can't really re-emphasize the importance of being enumerated, and this is something that we have talked time and time again.
Yes.
Perhaps in our closing remarks, you would emphasize it to the population out there, the importance as to why they need to be counted, and let's just urge everyone to make sure that they're counted.
Yeah. Thank you, and dear viewers, for those who have already been enumerated, thank you for being part of this great exercise, because it happens once in 10 years. For those who have not been counted, don't lose hope. The enumerator is on his or her way. He will reach you, because it really matters to be counted. The benefits of getting to know how many we are and where we live and who do we live with amongst the different communities where we reside, and the kind of services we access is quite important to know. And if you may, for some of those who may not be aware, the allocation of resources by government to the different local governments is dependent upon, one, the population of the area. Now, if you are not counted and you stay in an area, then the population is going to be reduced because you did not participate. And so the services and the resources that will come to that local government will be reduced depending on the population that has been left out. So don't be part of that team that excludes itself from this process, because the benefits to the community is important. As they say, one plus one, or it makes up a bundle, or one by one makes up a bundle. Mm-hmm. So together we can actually make a difference. So don't exclude yourself from this process, because it comes once in 10 years. If you miss out, then it will be until 2034. That is when there will be another census. And who knows, that will be a different ball game altogether.
Oh, yes.
So our members, please, those who have not been enumerated, stand up and be counted, be part of this exercise, so that we celebrate together as we disseminate these findings that yes, we are, every Ugandan, everybody who was in Uganda participated and contributed to the success of this program.
Well, Mr. Monge, thank you so much for taking time to discuss with us what's happening in regards to the population census. And thank you for staying with us as we discuss what's happening in regards to the ongoing process of the National Population and Housing Census of 2024. It does matter to be counted. My name is Nora Sende. Good afternoon.
Fellow countrymen and women, especially the Bazukuru, as we work towards realizing Uganda's Vision 2040, it is important that we plan based on accurate information about our people and our resources. I therefore would like to announce the 6th National Population and Housing Census that will start on the 10th of May 2024. The information from the National Population and Housing Census will support government, the private sector, cultural and religious institutions, civil society, and development partners in service delivery. It will also provide the basis for planning the provision of social services such as education, health, and transport, among many others, at the national and local levels. When data collectors or enumerators come to your home during the census, please avail yourselves and provide them with honest answers to their questions. This is in order to enable them to process the most accurate information about you, your household, institutions, and community. I therefore call upon all political, cultural, and religious leaders, private sector players, civil society, the media, and the institutions of the government to support this key national program. The successful execution of this census will influence the well-being of all Ugandans and progress the country towards the desired socio-economic transformation. I wish you all a successful census for God and my country.